Yeah, I'd like to call to order the November 21st, 2022 meeting of the Bargersville Plan Commission. To start off, if we could, please. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Next up is roll call, beginning to my right.
Ruth Ann Moore.
Jeff Sickmeyer.
Rowana Umbarger.
Eric Arnold.
Okay, we have minutes from the October 17th meeting. Has everybody had a chance to read? And if so, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the meetings from the October 17, 2020.
Are your microphones on? Because you can't hear
They are on.
can't hear a single word back here.
I don't think these are.
Okay, do we have an issue with the microphones?
Tell you.
I mean, they are all turned on. I'm sorry that we're,
We'll take a look, thanks.
yeah.
We'll speak louder too.
In case technology wants to defeat us here, we will try to
Well,
speak
yeah,
louder for you.
yeah. I'm going to move that we approve the minutes of the meeting of October 17th, 2022 as presented.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes from our October 17th, 2022 meeting. All those in favor verbally, starting at my right?
Aye.
Jeff Sickmeyer, aye.
Rowana Umbarger, aye.
I was not here, but abstaining kind of throws that. So, yeah, aye. Eric Arnold, aye.
Are you able to hear any better, sir?
I got some nods back there, so you're good.
Well, not the-
Can't push the volume of the mics much higher or it'll feedback.
Yeah.
Okay.
The amplifier can't be turned up any louder?
If you're not able to hear us, just let us know so we can.
Maybe if you brought the microphones a little closer to your mouth.
I might have it in my mouth if I
Yeah.
bring it too much closer.
About 3 inches away for you.
It's really,
Okay, next up, reports and recommendations.
No reports tonight, so we'll move on to our item of new business, because we don't have any old business, which is docket RZNE-399-2022, Fulmer Property Rezoning. The petitioner is requesting rezoning approval of approximately 40 acres from Ag to R1. The subject property is located between 4082 and 4462 South Morgantown Road. The petitioner is J. Greg Allen and Associates. The owners are Andrew Fulmer and Judy Ann Breeze. These 40 acres, as I mentioned, are located on Morgantown Road, north of Whiteland Road, west of the Hickory Stick golf community, just for some orientation. Current zoning is ag, proposing to go to the R1 low-density single-family zoning district. The 2040 comprehensive plan designates this area for moderate density residential. The proposed conceptual layout is on your screen and in your packets for your reference. The petitioner has not proposed any additional zoning commitments, so therefore this proposed development would be subject to the base Unified Development Code standards, which would include but not limited to lot requirements, any landscaping requirements, block standards, and open space and amenity standards. Those would all be items that would be specifically reviewed with a primary plat, which would be the next step if this would get through zoning. But those are just, this is the first subdivision under our new Unified Development Code. So these are all standards that have been changed or some additional since the last zoning ordinance. Staff also, we received a written request via email from a neighboring property owner who requested a continuance on this public hearing. because this meeting fell on the week of Thanksgiving. So, presenting that request to you for the commission, but just to finish up my presentation, the statutory decision criteria are on your screen and in your packets for your reference. Staff is recommending that the Planning Commission give a favorable recommendation to the Town Council. Petitioner is here tonight to give a presentation and answer any questions. This is a public hearing.
For audience members, the process that we follow for a public hearing and a rezone is we first invite the petitioner and/or his representatives to present their request. Following that, we will have a public hearing, and prior to the beginning of the public hearing, anyone who wishes to speak, we will ask you to be sworn in, and then one at a time be able to step up to the mic, and that will be your time for public input. When the public hearing closes, the petitioner will have the opportunity then to address any questions or comments made during the public hearing, and then the Plan Commission will address the issues then as a commission. So we would invite the petitioner, if you'd like, please state your name and address and association, and then you have up to 15 minutes, sir.
Thank you.
Jeff, do you want to swear everyone
Swear us in.
Yeah, I guess we need to do that since the petitioner is one of the people saying, okay. All right, anyone who would like to speak to tonight's petition on the Fulmer rezone, if you would please stand. This doesn't commit you to speaking, but this gets you all ready to speak, okay? If you would, do you swear that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For the record, my name is Bob Wildman. Address Suite 501, 1 Virginia Avenue. I'm here on behalf of the J. Greg Allen and Associates, the petitioner in this matter. We have two of the principals here with us as well, if you have questions of them. The staff's done a good job of outlining our request. 40 acres, we're requesting change from agricultural zoning to low density R1. In our site plan that you can see behind you, we're proposing only 36 lots on 40 acres, so it's a very low density. The plan here is to have a upscale custom home subdivision here, and we think it'll be very complementary to the neighborhood in general. The properties on surrounding this are either agriculture now or low-density housing, so it'll be complementary to what's there. Across the street to the east is the Stick Golf Course. As the staff indicated, we're actually proposing a lower density and larger lot sizes than what the comprehensive plan would allow for this particular tract. We think it's the highest and best use for this particular property, and we're happy to comply with all of the UDC requirements for subdivisions of this type. This particular drawing up here illustrates the compliance with the open space requirement in your ordinance. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Commission members?
I think at the moment, as always, I reserve to change that opinion.
So,
Okay.
Please
go ahead.
Sorry. The open space just appears to be strips of green around maybe the pond areas, and it's all along Morgantown Road. Isn't it?
Correct. The
Not
pond,
all, but the majority is along.
the pond areas and the
So there's nothing other than just,
And it's not a true
Green.
common area, it's just
it's just green, it's just grass.
open space. Open space.
Open.
Just from staff's point of view, I wanted to jump in just so everyone's clear. Staff has not reviewed the amount of, or type of open space in the ordinance. That would be a plat function with no commitments. We would default to that 5% minimum open space as defined by the ordinance. And we did put some limitations on buffer strips and areas around ponds and things like that. So we'd work through that,
It's all around ponds, and it's along a very busy road.
and we'd work through that at plat stage with the absence of a commitment there. So just the staff.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions from commission members?
Not at the moment.
Okay, we can revisit this after the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at this point, we're going to open the public hearing. If you would like to speak, what we would ask you to do is step up to the microphone, introduce yourself, and give address. And then there's a total of 15 minutes for all speakers, so I would encourage anyone who would like to speak in the open session here to limit your comments to new information. So if somebody's already raised a particular issue, we would ask you not to be repetitive so that we can maximize the number of people who have the opportunity to give input. And I'll be the timekeeper as far as the available time for the public comments. So who would like to be first?
Hello. Okay. I am John Ogborn, and this is my wife, Jeanette, and we live to the property to the north of the property we're talking about.
4082 South Morgantown Road.
And we've lived there for about 5 years now, and we kind of see this all coming. Obviously, we're going to transform this neighborhood, but there's a lot of things kind of going on right now with our whole community, with I-69 and with the build-out kind of going on, the infrastructure happening. And it's already, pretty difficult to get down the roads and, so the infrastructure is one thing that hasn't been built out yet, we don't think. And I kind of looked at the things that we're supposed to evaluate rezoning on, and Section L of your zoning map, and it calls out the comprehensive plan, the current conditions, the most desirable use, the conservation of property values, and the responsible development and growth. And I think we really need to look at these things, as we go forward in Bargersville to we really need to think about how we go about this. We have a neighborhood. We've talked to many of the people out here around that mile. A lot of houses are a lot bigger than what this is planning, and we're looking at serious devaluation in the area. This is an unusual area, I would say. There's a lot of fluent people that live here. It's just south of Center Grove High School, and we're seriously worried about our valuations being taken down. And we put together some information so we can talk to you about that. But we put some the average house in this area is $1 million. The average square feet of this area is 6,000 square feet. The average lot size is over an acre. And so that kind of gives you an idea. I mean, this is like all of these houses are like that. And so you're putting in something that with the density of this, the lot sizes alone can't do that. And then if you start talking about things like having a pool or having something else there's no room for it in a lot size like this. So there's a lot of issues with this general layout here, and I don't know if this is I mean, I always see the first thing that I see, I always worry that that's what we're going for here, and I tie this to the zoning, and so I'm worried that this becomes part of here's what's going to happen, and it just does not fit in. It does not fit in this neighborhood. So one of the things that if you look at this right now too, if you would talk about expanding the road here, for example, that pond right there is going to disappear. And that pond right there is the main source of where the water will want to go, because the way the land tilts, it will want to go to that pond. And so,
And then you have houses along there too, when you widen the road.
but you're going to create, what you're going to create here is a taxpayer situation in the future. And if you don't look at these in detail, if you don't look at the budgets, if you don't look at the whole project plan, if you don't look at everything, you know, you just cannot you can't approve things like this anymore. I mean, we only have so much land, and I think you want to keep this neighborhood, you know, you want to keep it, you want to keep the values as high as possible. I mean, this is the way, this is why everybody moves down here. I mean, this is a growth pole, so, yeah, that's kind of our primary, you know, reasons. I mean, I've got 100 more, but, you know, I've done drainage calculations and some other things. So I'm an engineer, so I worked at Raytheon, so, you know, this is, and I have a subdivision out in Danville, so, but my subdivision raised the value of the neighborhood, so, and you can look at it if you want to see it, so.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Mary Lawler, and this is my husband, Steve Lawler.
Just wanted to show you protection to, this is my house right here, this is Morgantown, this is the property they're talking about.
And we live across the street from John and Jeanette, which is, we're adjacent to Hickory Stick Golf Course, and we will be affected by this change.
Could you give us your address, please?
4065 Shady Point Row. Our backyard is Morgantown.
When we first moved in, there was probably a couple hundred cars that went up a day, up and down Morgantown, and everybody said, don't worry about it. Well, there's well over 5,000 cars, trucks, buses, all kinds of things going up and down there. It's a busy road.
Sir, I'm sorry, could we ask you to come up?
Come
to the
here
mic
so
we
they
have
can use
it,
the mic.
For the record, please, thank you.
We both grew up west of Chicago, and traffic there is a mess. We moved away from that for a reason. We wanted to get where there are farms. We wanted to be away from traffic. We're retired. We want a simpler pace.
And everybody said this farm area would never change, it'd never be rezoned when we moved here. And now here we are 7 years later, talk about rezoning it. That picture I showed has a red line going through it.
Steve, talk into the mic.
That photograph has a red line going through that. That's where the surveyors came through our yard and said there's a sewer drain that runs the whole length of my yard. It's buried down there, and it runs 30 feet off of my house. And they want to tap into this sewer line for this new community. That means going through my backyard
And
digging it all up for God knows how long.
And we have a 94-year-old mother that lives with us, which is not a good situation.
But the point is that sewer line that they say they need to tap into is 30 feet off my house.
We put up trees because we can't handle the noise as it is.
The traffic along Morgantown is the reason we put all those trees there, because we have grandkids that come over, and you don't want the kids, you know, getting away from you and running out into that road. And all this traffic's going to increase. Putting in more houses is just going to increase the traffic on an already busy road. You figure every house that goes in there is going to have, it's a family, so the wife drives, the husband drives. If they have kids, teenagers, they're going to have cars, and it's already a freeway.
And this isn't what we wanted when we moved in. And it's not going to get better with the subdivision going in.
And I can't see the logic of coming in through my yard. This is Stephanie,
And it's not going to get better with the subdivision going in.
and I can't see the logic of coming in through my yard. This is Stephanie, her house is right next to us. That red line also extends all the way through her property. So Alan wants to dig up, who has no skin in our neighborhood, wants to dig up my backyard just so he could build houses for someone else?
Across Morgantown Road.
It doesn't seem right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Oh, and if you didn't get, we would be opposed to this measure.
One last thing, I fail to understand why they need to go through and dig up our yards to put sewer lines in for a subdivision that's going down there.
Okay, just so that you understand that what our jurisdiction here is on this plan commission is to address the rezone. And then planning office will address things like the plats and everything. There's a completely separate organization within the town, the utility board, that would address issues like that,
Okay.
okay?
Okay, and then on that side, then I don't understand how you can just rezone that farmland when it was always said that that would always be zoned farmland.
Okay, I'm going to address that after the public hearing.
Thank you for your time.
Hello, Dr. Christina Boy. I'm at 4557 Pascagoula Run, here with my husband, Mark. We're in the Persimmon Woods subdivision. In terms of new information that would be helpful to know, it's clear on the drawings that there's a Phase 1 and there's a Phase 2. How is access to Phase 2 going to happen? So we're talking about concerns over just Phase 1. What about Phase 2? And how would that access actually occur and increase the volume on Morgantown? Moreover, my husband and I, who have been living there for 12 years, already have significant drainage issues where that back area goes right back through our backyard and has flooded our road on Pascagoula Run. That's something else that should be in consideration. We're vehemently opposed, not slightly opposed, but vehemently opposed. Yes, honey?
Hello, I'm Dr. Mark E. Boy, and we're vehemently opposed because you mentioned quality of life in Bargersville. Well, for us in our development, this is going to nearly destroy our quality of life. We would have liked to have had the opportunity to buy an acre or two behind us, each of us. And there's 6 or 7 more, perhaps, that are affected by this. Yet no consideration was given to us before this was proposed. In fact, when they were harvesting their crop this past season, I went up to the tractor operators and asked them, who owns this? Because I want to buy at least an acre. Money's not the objective, to protect my quality of life. We moved here, we spent this kind of money for our houses for a certain level of quality of life, not to have an R1 development behind us. When Zone 2 goes in, it will decrease our property values. Am I missing anything, Chris?
You're exactly right. Yeah, you're right on.
So again, tremendously opposed. We should have been consulted beforehand, but we weren't. The neighbors to the north were. So that's all I have to say for the moment. Huh?
Consulted them.
I don't know. They have to mention it. Informed.
Only because they were measuring our property.
Yeah.
Surveying our property. That's
People
how
were
we
on our
found out.
property,
Yeah.
without our permission.
Hi, my name is Dave Swissler, and I'm opposed to this rezoning. Morgantown Road is a
Your address, sir?
4050 South Morgantown Road.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, Morgantown Road's already turned into a heavily traveled, very busy street that, because of the soccer fields, the football fields, and at times it is difficult for me to be able to pull out of my driveway because of the traffic. The backup of traffic was helped when they put the roundabout in on the south end down at Whiteland Road. But it's very dense and backed up. It's Stone's Crossing, or Smoky Row Road, I'm sorry, and Morgantown. Every lot on the west side of Morgantown Road, from Smoky Row Road to Whiteland Road, is at least 5 acres, and most of them are 8 to 10 acres or larger. So this will end up being the most densely populated area, and there will be more homes in this subdivision than already exist on Morgantown Road in that mile stretch area. I've lived in my house for over 30 years. I've experienced some of Greg Allen developments on other roads, and when the developments are taking place during wet and muddy times, the roads turn into a muddy mess because as construction workers go in, their trucks are covered with mud, they pull out, and the mud's just up and down the road. I am opposed to this. I would like to have seen the property be sold. I'd rather see it stay as ag, but certainly development needs to take place. But because of the current size of the lots, the housing stock that's on there, I think this has the potential to negatively impact the value of properties that are already up and down the road. Thank you.
We probably have time for someone else if you'd like to. Come on up.
Hello, I'm Dr. Derek Hosnar, and I live at 5306 State Road 144. Would be completely south of the second phase of your subdivision. We're on 18 acres with an 8-acre lake, and our biggest concern is obviously the drainage from this. The other thing is, with the lack of playground area for children, we've unfortunately had a lot of middle schoolers end up in our woods around that area as well as near to the lake, so that concerns us, and having this many more houses there would also be a concern, plus the volume of people coming in on Morgantown Road.
This is a picture we got in the mail, shows phase 2. We own phase 2. We haven't sold.
Yeah. There's no phase 2.
Well, why is it on the picture then?
Something got out.
Okay, what,
So
you'll
I'm
have,
glad you're here because I'm like,
Right, we didn't.
you'll have the opportunity to answer questions afterwards. This is his time.
James Ward, 4010 South Morgantown. And we own that 40 acres. And
That's in blue for phase.
Yes.
Labeled phase 2, whether
Yes.
it is phase 2 or not.
Correct.
That's your problem.
Yes.
Okay.
We have not sold it. We own it, and we don't plan on selling it. Just so everybody knows that. I thought I better ease some minds here, so we're opposed to the 30 acres being developed too. It's just that whole square mile, or however many miles it is. That was originally all 10-acre plots, and I agree. It's tough getting out on the drive and trying to get out on Morgantown Road, and I just think it'd be a bad idea. I agree with the property values arguments, but it's just going to make things go down and increase frustrations.
James,
But-
can you repeat your last name for you? That's
Ward.
the one thing I missed.
Ward.
James Ward.
W-A-R-D.
Thank you, Mr. Ward.
But yeah, I just wanted to say that there's no phase 2 or whatever it's called.
I think we have time for one more. If anybody else would like to speak, this is your opportunity. Okay, not seeing any. You're coming back up.
She wants the picture back.
Oh.
There you go.
All right, going once, going twice. All right, we will close the public hearing. Petitioners are invited back to the mic to address questions and comments.
Thank you. I might make a couple comments and then ask a couple of the principals to address some of these issues, but I'm glad we cleared up the fact that there is no phase two. All we're talking about is this 40 acres and these 36 lots, which again is substantially less than what the comprehensive plan would call for in this area. From a traffic point of view, because we're less density than what the comprehensive plan is, I think we'll have less of an impact. We're also going to be improving the road with passing blister on either side of the entrance that we're proposing. From a home,
Which means widening the road?
not the entire
This
width
is-
of the property, but around the entranceway. You got a decel and XL lane.
Where does that start?
Let's let the petitioner address, and then we can move on from there.
As you indicated before, some of these details will be fleshed out with the plating process, but there'll be an XL and decel lane. And the engineers will figure out where that is and how big it is. From a valuation standpoint, again, we're proposing an upscale custom house. The property values in this area are going to, or the house values in this area are going to be somewhere 750 to $1.2 million. And I don't think this is going to devalue any of this property out here. I don't think the Hickory Stick properties that are to the east of us are on lots that are larger, or that the house values exceed what we're proposing to do at all. John or Greg, would you like to propose something else?
How do you address running sewers through my backyard?
Yeah, I'll go kind of through this line item by line item. As you said, most of these things aren't really for today's hearing, but since there's concern, we should get them addressed.
I need your name.
Sorry, John Cunningham, J. Greg Allen and Associates, 1 Virginia Avenue, Suite 501, Indianapolis. The average lot size in here is approximately 0.81 acres. There was a comment made earlier about them being small lots and not suitable for pools and things of the sort. Certainly, they very much are, and that is the intent of this subdivision and part of the reason why we're doing it. And why we're doing it, proposing it in this location with these larger lots than you might find throughout Hickory Stick, where they had a lot of common amenities, but not much land to do a private amenity on your parcel. So that is that. With respect to the sewer system, yes, we have been told, and you guys go ahead and run this through a little bit of a tech review up front, which is awesome, by the way. It's great to know what everybody's thinking. Nothing came back in any of those reviews that we were not expecting or that we would not comply with. Obviously, we got to work out the details, but we expected a passing blister. We knew that when this sewer was built, the sewer system, that the stub was made to the north in the back of Hickory Stick, and that's the manhole that was intended to be hit. And that's the way they did it. And so we've talked to Bargersville Sewers. They made that pretty clear right out of the gate. That's where we would need to go, even though, to someone's point, it didn't make a lot of sense at first because elevation actually goes the other way. But when you look at the overall master plan, I see why they did what they did. So it is, in fact, true that we're supposed to hit a manhole up in the back of Hickory Stick.
Where's the back of Hickory Stick?
It's on Shady Point Court, behind that.
Sewers.
See, that route of that drain, which nobody ever told us when we moved in there, is 30 feet off of my back of my house.
Right to the bedroom window.
You want to bring bulldozers in
Okay.
and dig it all up?
I need to repeat that we don't need to solve utility problems tonight. That's what the utility organization will do.
Yeah, that's
right.
my worry. If you just red light, green light this, then nobody has any say anymore.
All right, let's let the petitioner finish his comments, please.
So in summary, we've got average lots of 0.8 of an acre. It is significantly less than R1 zoning, which would allow 2 lots per acre, and significantly less than the comprehensive plan, which called for somewhere up to 6 lots an acre. We do think it's a great master plan community and a great location. We've met with the owners of Hickory Stick course and believe that we can work well together to help them get some things they need, provide some users for them, and they in turn provide some amenities for us. So it's a development we're excited about. If the board has any questions, be happy to address them, or if there's anything that petitioners raised a concern with you that you have questions, we'll be happy to ask.
Thank you. I'm going to open this up to Plan Commission members for questions for the petitioner.
I'll ask the obvious one with this phase 2. Was that just something that you guys had talked about, pie in the sky, months ago?
When we originally put this project came together pretty quickly as these go. This land came for sale. We cut an agreement over the weekend. We looked at it and said, this is a little bit of a small community to do, and to put in a $150,000 entrance and put in a passing blister and ponds. So yes, we said, well, the natural thing would be go talk to the landowner to the east. Our representative went and did that. He had no intention of buying or selling. That's been dead for months. So I apologize that somewhere in our office, a phase 2 document got out there.
Fair enough.
But obviously that was not taken through with you guys.
The passing blister, I assume, will take part of the green space?
So that is actually shown to some degree in there. Now, to your point, what exactly is that green, how wide is that? So 3 things need to go together there, and they've been noted by your various departments. There's the green space, there's the passing blister, and then there's, to the extent you get too close to the pond, we'll need to do something to obviously keep vehicles from going into the pond.
So it obviously is going to cut into.
Yeah, it's already drawn to some, it's already shown on there, so I don't know how much more it would cut in.
Guess I don't see it.
Right, it's there. It is faint, but I see something. There's something there.
I'm just curious, there are a lot of comments about traffic, which is something that we hear a lot. Our community is growing very rapidly, and traffic issues are not something that this board addresses, but they're always a concern in our community. I know they're a concern where I live in the community. Just a few years ago, as part of the process of getting things ramped up for what is now the I-69 corridor, there was a study that was done that identified all of the roads in our community that would have to be upgraded to eventually accommodate the traffic loads that can no longer get to I-69 because it's 144 in Smith Valley Road. Every other access got cut off. In that, Morgantown Road was identified as very likely going to need to be upgraded to 4 lanes at some point in the future. Not a specific date, just at some point. If that were taken into account, does that change what your layout is? If you think that at some point Morgantown Road's going to be 4 lanes, you've got to be able to accommodate that. I believe, and again, that'll get worked through in the details. Your people will not approve this if that's in a plan. They'll need the right of way to make that road happen when it happens. Is my typical experience between the right-of-way that they have from Hickory Stick on the other side and what they currently have, which I believe is enough to do 4 lanes through there as it sits. I think that's already in place, but if not, they would make us dedicate our right-of-way, and they're not going to let us build the pond where a road's going to need to go in the future. And we'd be happy to make that a specific point with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we do.
Very common thing that we get as we look at various developments coming before the Plan Commission, then eventually going before the Town Council, is green space. One, how green space is calculated is something that was tightened up in the is green space. one, how green space is calculated is something that was tightened up in the new Unified Development Ordinance, the UDO, that was approved some months ago. Right now, I know that this is conceptual. This still has to be fully platted out. We're not looking at what the final version of this is yet. This is just the rezone. But I look at this and I don't actually see green space. What I see are the boundary areas. So you have come without any specific commitments. I know that the UDO has very specific guidelines on percentages and so on, and what can and cannot be counted as green space is built into that ordinance. I look at this, and if this is in fact what you intend to now take through, if assuming you get the rezone, how you would plat this, I don't see any green space. I'm just curious if you would like to speak to that. Ponds don't count.
So it's my understanding that that is a fairly new ordinance. When it comes to subdivisions, our engineer, we actually asked her to run this calculation last night. We're going to have to sit down and go through that and make sure that it meets the intent. Sometimes it's written, you can put things in writing, and maybe she misinterpreted the writing, or maybe that is what the writing says, but, I'm not sure what the intent was when it was written, but I'd be more than happy to ask around, and you guys can tell me.
I guess I'm not sure exactly how essentially what you're saying is we'll make sure that we meet the ordinance, and I'm not sure that what we're seeing meets that. So I'm looking for potential for a commitment of what would be done for green space if this were to actually fully develop.
Well, I will commit to meeting the ordinance, certainly, but I'm not sure what they were.
I feel like what they're doing is maybe meeting the area commitment, but green space around the ponds to me is not.
It's not functional.
It's not, I mean, you
Functional
don't want
green
kids
space.
out playing around the ponds.
Right.
Well, and part of the reason
You
why
want
that
an
was.
area where it attracts
common area.
families, or it attracts the residents of.
I can tell you that.
They have a code.
I can tell you that
Where else?
that pond in back in particular, that was done to preserve as many of the trees as possible, is why that's the way it is.
So I think two things we're looking at is tree preservations areas set forth in landscaping standards may qualify. Required perimeter buffer yards, external street frontage, landscaping areas do not qualify toward required open space. So as identified, just preliminarily, I haven't looked at dimensions or anything. I don't think we even have dimensions. Would there be some question on that Morgantown Road qualifying as green space?
I think where we're looking at it as is, at least in my point of view, to increase green space, you may not get 36 lots. Does that kill, if we get to that point from a platting perspective, does that kill this whole project? Because I know how developers are, where if you get 35 lots, the project's not feasible, it has to be 36.
Certainly, it's very tight, but I have to, as large as these lots are, I have to think there's something we can work out on that.
What if the two-lane road comes in, then they have even less space for lots?
No, we're not counting outside of our right-of-way.
So we seem to be cherry picking off this comprehensive plan. I mean, I just want to bring that up, that we seem to say that what we like, everybody does, and it does lay out a boulevard on Morgantown Road, and it would cut through that pond up there, and so the taxpayers would end up, and it would take out like houses, so.
Yeah, what you're looking at here is not the development yet.
I
This is just a notional drawing.
I understand, but there has to be a pond there in order to take all this water in.
Understood.
So, and that is the place where the water wants to go right there, so. That is the place where the water, and in the back.
The right-of-way for 4 lanes on Morgantown would not be, when it came time for final development plan, would be excluded from this. So, I mean,
So we seem to be, so if that's the case, then if the comprehensive plan is not being looked at, then why are we looking at it for the rezoning aspect of it then?
The comprehensive plan is being looked at. The comprehensive plan allows 6 houses per acre on that property.
Can we challenge that?
That's in the comprehensive plan, and what the developer is proposing is just slightly less than one house per acre.
Understand.
One
But
more.
could I just interject here? The comprehensive plan is just a roadmap. It's a plan. It's not something that's etched in stone. It's not our zoning
Legal binding.
ordinances. It's not anything like that. It's just sort of a roadmap for the community.
Which has not been presented to the community.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes. I mean, there were countless hours that went into that.
Yes,
18 months of public input
yeah.
to develop.
And everyone had the opportunity to address and be here and be a part of that.
We didn't know.
Did we get a mailing or?
And it was advertised in many different forums for months and months.
So can we say that we think the comprehensive plan is wrong for our area?
No,
No?
it's an adopted comprehensive plan.
And you're not gonna go back and look at more detail and update that thing? Because this area is changing like crazy.
It was just updated.
It's already wrong. It's already outdated.
Right, sir?
Okay.
The public hearing is already closed, so if you would, do you have any other comments?
Guys, any other questions or anything else?
Traffic, you've addressed the property value question. I know that more than one person said that they were promised that this would never change. That is an unrealistic expectation in a community that is growing. The idea that the farm areas would never change, that's just not a realistic expectation. I live also out where I'm surrounded by farmland, and there are many developers constantly looking at the land that surrounds my property. I'm on 10 acres, surrounded by very large tracts, that is very attractive to developers, and I know it's going to develop. That's just the natural course of things. Certainly want to have a voice in that, as you all do. I would say, just my sense for my fellow Plan Commission members, given what could be presented in this, comprehensive plan would have allowed an R3, 6 houses per acre. That would be close to somewhere in the order of 180, maybe as many as 200 homes on that same acreage is what the comp plan would have allowed. And what we have is a developer that wants to put high-end housing at a very low density. To me, this is something that's desirable, knowing that that acreage is going to be developed. It is going to be developed. It's not going to stay farmland. Going with something that is a very low density, high value, I think you said 750 to 1.2 million is the value point that you're aiming at. Is that correct?
Yes.
Seems like a win for the community. So,
And I never got a formal answer. The project's not dead if it goes to 35 or 34 lots, is what
No.
I'm hearing. If that's what ends up being required at plating process to meet the code and things, that's not going to.
But correct me if I'm wrong, this is the time that we need to get that commitment.
If you want to limit on the number of lots, now is the time.
Yes.
I don't know if the number of lots is something that would limit. I
Or
just
the
want to know
size
from
of the
a.
lot or whatever.
Yes, we need,
Okay,
right now is the time that we need to address commitments if we,
I'm asking that not because I necessarily care if the lot is 0.8 acres or 0.7 acres. That doesn't bother me as much as, from their point of view, they may not get 36.
And we're happy to commit
lots.
to 36 lots, no more than 36 lots, and meeting the green space requirements that will work with your staff. And if that means we can't do 36 and we got to do 35, then we got to figure that out.
Sure. Because that's the one concern that I have with this conceptual drawing, to your point, Ro, is that there's no functional green space here.
The idea in the ordinance having been that, like a communal park, I'm asking, I didn't read it. Thank you for bringing it up to me, but I wasn't going to sit here and read it.
I think it's a gathering area more than just space around a pond.
Yeah, a buffer between the road and someone's lot, that, I mean, Because if I'm in lot one, I don't want kids playing in that green space that's between my lot and Morgantown. A, it's dangerous, and B, you know.
I think what you're hearing, John, right?
Yes.
John, I think what you're hearing is there is the letter of the ordinance as far as percentages of green space, what can count, what can't count. But what you're hearing is intent.
That's what I was asking, what the
Yeah.
intent was. We're not trying to get a loophole on putting green space in the, that was not the goal. Like I said, literally, Donna's on vacation. We called her last night and said, you need to run this very quickly. I'm not sure that she's even familiar with what, a lot of municipalities have just general green space requirements. They don't mean that it's usable. They just want, we get into all these ratios, floor coverage ratio, green space ratio. So.
We see it all the time.
Yeah. So I think that's probably what she interpreted.
Well, by hearing you are willing to make the commitment, no more than 36 lots, and that you'll meet the requirements and intent of our green space requirements.
If that means less than 36 lots.
Yes.
Well, I mean,
It would,
or, yes, if it becomes,
Or do we flip it and say it's instead of 36 lots, do we keep it at a minimum or a minimum lot size? Is that a better way to get around it? Because I don't think we care necessarily the number of lots.
Because that gets into platting.
Okay.
They've got to figure that out.
Okay. I was making sure we didn't want to put that as a commitment now.
Joe, I know that in the past, we've had traffic studies. Is that no longer part of the process, or?
Or when is that?
Usually I'd answer from back there, but in the interest of everybody.
That's
being-
fine.
Absolutely.
We have required traffic studies in the past, however, with our road impact fee study, we did do a traffic study, and I believe we actually accounted for a much denser product on this property. In accordance with the comprehensive plan, which was included in the overall traffic study. Each of these homes would be subject to the road impact fee.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, Eddie, you probably know exactly what the road impact fee is.
I don't, honestly.
You're not helping me. It's substantial.
What it
Yeah,
is,
it's,
It's a few thousand, I know that.
Can't remember exactly
Yeah, I
what it
can't
is.
remember
It
either.
is substantial.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Any
thank
other
you.
questions?
Thanks, Joe. Careful back there.
Anything else, Rob?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Somebody else is going to have to be making the motion. I wrote down here.
Me do it? Oh, just passing the buck. All right, I will make a motion regarding rezone 000399-2022, the former property rezoning, to give a favorable recommendation to the town council as long as commitments of no more than 36 lots, and the green space requirements will be met with the requirements and the intent based on the UDC. UDO, sorry.
You know, it sounds like you're putting
Okay,
pressure over
this is our time.
property to everybody who lives around here.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion made by Mr. Arnold, seconded by Rowe. Any other questions or comments by commission members? Okay, I remind that we have the minimum quorum tonight, so I'm going to ask for the vote beginning from my right, if you would please.
Ruth Ann Moore, aye.
Jeff Sickmeyer, aye.
Rowena Umbarger, aye.
Eric Arnold, aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Now, for the audience, we are only making a recommendation. The actual decision is made by the town council.
This will be at the December 13th town council meeting for introduction. The town council has the final say on the ordinance. They will hear it at least 3 times.
What do they do at that time?
Yes.
What are they talking about at that time?
Same items. This is an advisory commission to the town council. So they review the documents, make a recommendation, the town council has the final say. So that process will begin on December 13th.
Oh, absolutely.
It is.
Where is that at?
Public meeting?
It is a 7 o'clock meeting in this room.
Okay, moving on to the second item on the agenda, docket plat 396, Morgantown Meadows Administrative Waiver.
Why don't we let it simmer for a second?
Chelsea?
We're a volunteer, we're not voted for.
We're appointed.
We're appointed, we're never elected. Volunteered and appointed.
Yes.
Town of Bargersville.
Town council. Okay, I'm going to ask you, will we still have a meeting to conduct here? Either one of the folks back here. Sir, we are
The meeting's still continuing.
We are finished with
Well, now it goes to the town council. The town council, if you go on the website, they have email addresses listed there.
And those are your elected officials.
Those are your
the
elected
elected officials. Yes, sure.
Understood.
We take our lives in our hands when we get
Sir, we're done. We need to move on into the agenda. Give it a minute.
The number of times people think we get elected, quite common.
I know.
Folks, I hate to share what happened. We do have some more items of business to take care of. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the items, but we do need to complete our meeting.
I get it. I get it.
I was not expecting it either.
That's what we get. We think.
All right.
Okay.
All right, Chelsea, we're good.
Move on.
Ms. Fenimore, what's next?
All right, next item on the agenda is docket plat -396-2022, Morgantown Meadows Administrative Waiver. The petitioner is requesting waiver approval to permit 2 drive cuts for an exempt subdivision. Subject property is located at 3663 North 500 West. The property is zoned ag. Petitioner's Pin Oak Farms LLC. So as you can see, this is located along Morgantown Road near the elementary school, Walnut Grove, and Aberdeen. This has an existing home on it, went through rezoning earlier this year, and was rezoned to rural residential. And this, now they're coming back through and going through the planning process. This qualifies as a minor subdivision, so it's an administrative process with the town. However, if there would be any waiver requests, then under the Unified Development Code, the commission or the council, depending on the nature of the waiver, would have to consider this. Be any waiver requests, then under the Unified Development Code, the commission or the council, depending on the nature of the waiver, would have to consider this. This specific proposal, they're proposing to subdivide to create an additional 20-acre lot, plus or minus, and that would have its own private driveway. The Unified Development Code considers a driveway the same as a subdivision entrance. It's a number of vehicular access points, so a private residential driveway, as far as the ordinance is concerned, as the same number of cuts as if this were a major subdivision. So because of that, because there's an existing driveway serving proposed parcel 2, and there is a proposed driveway for parcel 1 in the future when there would be a single-family dwelling built on it, this needs to come to the commission for a waiver to permit that additional drive cut. The waiver decision criteria are in your packets for your reference. Staff is recommending that the Plan Commission approve this waiver request. Petitioner is here tonight to give a presentation, answer any questions. This is not a public hearing.
Thank God.
Thank you.
We're battered and bruised, so take it easy on us.
It should be. Yeah, let's make it real quick.
I can't wait till I talk to Mark Deedle.
I say he skipped a good one.
He did. Threw you right under the bus.
Please.
All right, I'm Andrew Barcosi with Barcosi Surveying, doing business at Maurer Surveying. We're located at 4800 West Smith Valley Road, Suite O, Greenwood, Indiana, 46142. Chelsea did a great job, kind of a synopsis of this kind of split here. Really, the only thing to add is that's an old drawing. The driveway is actually on the south line, the existing drive. They ended up shifting it from where they wanted it, so it's even further from the other lot. And we're really just looking for one more access. That's it.
It's like a scared puppy up there. He's afraid to say anything.
I mean, seriously, can't you tell us more?
I mean, I can.
My sense of this, fellow Plan Commission members, is this is,
It makes sense.
it makes complete
Yeah.
sense. I mean, the only alternative is they would have to try to connect to the existing
Yeah.
drive, which is just
Hey,
ridiculous.
you know
for
what?
the two
Never mind the
parcels.
concrete usage.
So, barring any other conversation that we need to have.
I'll make a motion regarding plat 00396-2022, the Morgantown Meadows admin waiver to approve the second drive cut.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Did you get those? It's Eric and Ruth Ann. Any other comments or questions? If not, we'll bring it to a vote, starting from my right.
Ruth Ann Moore, aye.
Jeff Sickmeyer, aye.
Rowana Umbarger, aye.
Eric Arnold, aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is docket plat -403-2022 Beckwood Meadow Estates waiver. The petitioner is requesting a road frontage waiver approval on an exempt subdivision lot. Subject property is located south of 7070 West Whiteland Road. Property is zoned ag. The petitioner is Duke Holmes. So north, you've got the proposed plat in your packet. On your screen, north is facing right, just for orientation's sake. This is an administrative subdivision, so again, going through that administrative review with the town staff, except for waivers as appropriate. The request before the Plan Commission is to permit a road frontage of 0 for this southern parcel, which would be the left parcel on the screen. And this parcel would be accessed via a shared driveway within a proposed platted ingress-egress easement. There would be language on the plat about access and any maintenance as appropriate for shared driveways. It's usually what the town requires for these proposed plats. So staff is recommending that the Plan Commission approve this waiver request. Petitioner is here tonight to answer any questions. This is not a public hearing.
Man, you again?
Me again. Andrew Barcosi with Barcosi Surveying, doing business as Maurer Surveying. We're located at 4800 West Smith Valley Road, Suite O, Greenwood, Indiana 46142. There's actually already 2 existing parcels here, a 10-acre piece, and then I think like a 19 in the back. So what we're doing is just shifting them to make them more equal here. And so it's already actually has 0 road frontage. The back lot does. So we're just looking for no road frontage here. And the reason for that is they're going to share a drive. We would actually be in front of you if we had to get a second drive for a different reason. So we want to do one shared drive. It'll actually line up with Mallow Runs, the Sycamore Mallow Run. It'll line up with that entrance. Okay. And then it'll come back to this. Similar thing was done just to the east of here for the Howard Minor Plat, a similar thing like that. So 0 road frontage again. With those, if you can get the road frontage here, but you end up with a strip of land and you don't know, who owns it on, pass down for here. Whereas this kind of thing, it kind of cuts it clean. I'm south, you're north. My land is here. We share a drive, just like any other road or anything like that. So, got any questions?
I do note that it has been very common practice when there are parcels that are set way back, essentially multiple parcels set way back off of whatever road.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, great example is along 144, south side of 144. Series of larger parcels with very narrow little piece that comes out to 144. This seems like a better solution. If in the planning process, the shared driveway agreement with all of the rules and maintenance and everything is covered, this seems like a much cleaner way of doing it. Property line is just a line.
Yes.
Instead of this little
flag lots. Yes, flag lots, which, yeah.
Exactly.
I have like Murata, where you got road frontage going through ponds, which is never going to be used.
Any other comments or questions?
I will state, this will be in front of the town council for septic waiver too, just so you guys know.
We saw that. Yeah. If not, I would entertain a motion.
Okay, I move that we approve the waiver for plat 0004003-2022 Beckwood Meadow Estates to allow for a shared driveway for ingress and egress.
And 0 road.
And 0 road frontage.
Okay.
That's really what the waiver's for.
That's really what the waiver's for, right?
I'll second.
All right. I have a first and second. Any other comments or questions? Then voting beginning to my right.
Ruth Ann Moore, aye.
Jeff Sickmeyer, aye.
Rowana Umbarger, aye.
Eric Arnold, aye.
All right, motion carries.
You guys have a good evening.
Just a point of, I'm just curious, you have introduced yourself twice in the last 10 minutes.
Yes.
What's your name? No.
DBA
Yes.
Maurer, so is
I'll
Paul?
be dropping the Maurer soon. Yeah, I bought Paul out a year ago, actually.
Okay, I did.
I've just been slowly.
His
getting-
bill's so much.
Yeah, the bill will go to the right place. Yeah, no, yeah, Paul retired. So
Okay, I didn't realize that. Okay.
I bought him out. And I'm running it pretty well, hopefully.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
Thanks, guys.
You guys take
See
care.
ya.
Thanks.
See you guys later.
Next up is just our monthly development department project update. Would be happy to answer any particular questions from the commission. That's on page 13 of your packets.
It doesn't look at this point like there's anything coming up in December.
This was prepared before the filing deadline. So we did get a filing for December. So you will have a public hearing next month, or is scheduled to have one.
Is it rezone?
It
You're going
is.
to be out of town.
I can't wait till I talk to Mark. That's fine.
And this one,
That's what we're here for.
our meeting's not the one that's impacted by the Christmas holiday.
Correct. That
It's
would be BZA.
BZA now, okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah, so this one, our next meeting will be December 19th,
Regularly,
Monday,
normally,
just
normal
like
schedule,
usual.
that's right, okay.
Yeah, BZA will be the next night. So,
Back-to-back nights.
back to back.
I'm curious, we're heading into the end of the year here. Are there, since we have a resignation with Tirza, have you guys already advertised for people to put in their interest, or?
Oh,
I just reserved a half an hour on Mr. Cartwright's schedule tomorrow afternoon.
To go over membership for, Mrs. Martin's spot, but also any other vacancies or terms.
I will, that same gentleman, I'm gonna talk to him because I'll see if he has a greater interest in this or BZA.
I think the prerequisite for planning commission for that spot would be a political affiliation other than R.
So independent would be okay.
Yep.
'Cause he is very much an I.
That's always a challenge in our community.
It is.
Yes, it is, as I'm aware. Yeah. So yeah, I'll talk to him. Because he may actually have more interest in this one over BZA, and I would say this is probably more, I don't want to say more important, but, okay, I'll talk to him.
I'm
I may
just
have
curious,
someone.
Any of us that have been on for a while, or is our term up?
We just looked at that earlier today, and I did not write that down. We've got annual appointments, but then
Jeff and Rowe, I think your term is up at the end of the year.
yes.
So do we have to apply? You kind of know us.
I don't. I'm not aware of what the current process is. It's changed a couple times, but I don't know the folks who are. But we'll be in touch sooner rather than later, I would assume. Correct, Joe?
I'll verify what we need to do with the clerk's office or HR or whoever now.
It's kind of bounced around a little over the last few years. So, otherwise, announcement-wise, the Santa train is coming up.
Oh, yeah.
And which Friday is that? I don't have my phone.
The
number.
second.
The
I think,
second.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be out.
We
Next
have
weekend.
Christmas market going. We have 31 vendors going to be here, and there's going to be reindeer for the kids,
Oh,
and
boy.
Santa, and hot chocolate, and
Carissa emailed me today about her, like, how many thousand cookies to stuff that Thursday.
It's a big ordeal. Having
Yeah.
done it
it's
for
going to be.
4 or 5
We're not
years.
going to be here.
Yeah.
We're going to be in Florida.
sharing all this excitement and everything, and we're not going to be here.
I shouldn't have added that.
You all
but
have fun, we're out.
Are any of those vendors?
Everybody needs to go.
Are any of those vendors food trucks?
They are having the, 1 or 2, I think, food trucks, maybe. I know they're having the popcorn guy,
Reindeer meat.
The kettle corn.
kettle corn guy.
Reindeer burgers.
I would assume there would be, but Carissa's kind of been in charge of that piece.
That is the hardest thing to get.
It is.
It is horrible, and I always feel like we lack in it.
Yeah.
Every time, no matter how hard you try. You think you've got enough, and then part of them don't show up,
Right.
or you can't get enough. Yeah.
I bet they could get that pizza place, Malnati's, or what is it?
Oh, Lou Malnati.
Oh, Lou Malnati's?
Yeah, they came to the farmer's market.
Oh,
and,
did they?
You know, they have people bring the pizza to them. They don't have to do anything. They just sell it.
Nice.
That's all from us. Unless there's got something else.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Meeting is adjourned.